surprising to me that Aquaman 2, even though it looked like a very interesting movie, has flopped. It's not surprising that everything seems to be flopping nowadays as people lose more faith in movies because the people creating these movies and shows keep treating people as though they're stupid. When I saw the article, it said domestic box office expected to drop by 1 billion in 2024 amid fewer films and waning moviegoer sentiment. It actually made me wonder whether or not Hollywood is just ill-omened. There's no doubt that people aren't really happy about the way things are going with the low quality output of movies. The fact that people don't want to gratuitously spend their money on what they believe is going to be a low quality product because it's all that's been happening. Hollywood has been putting out low quality things, and even though there's been a few movies out there that have actually shone, like Godzilla Minus One, ironically not from America, and people have been burned more than they've been rewarded, it's understandable why people might not want to take the risk, because the chances of them being burned is so much higher than them having a good time or walking away feeling as though their money went to good use, especially when people have so much less of it. For the Aquaman situation, I'm pretty sure a lot of that had to do with the whole Amber Heard situation. People just getting tired of certain actors having free reign and advantage over other certain actors of certain demographics. So there was that. I think that had a lot to do with why people were like, no, we're not going to go see Aquaman 2. But I think the other part of it is people feel as though there's not really any need to go and support the DCEU because everything has just fallen apart. Every time they invest their time and money into something, the DC reboots it and it's like, okay, we're going to follow this. Sucks. No, we're not. We're going to do something else. We're going to out Superman. Now we're going to throw away these things. Now we're going to reboot the whole thing over and over again. And at this point, people are just like, what is the point? If it all falls apart in the end, why bother getting invested in it when there are TV shows or foreign works that give me more bang for my buck, not just for my buck, but for my time? The one essential element that cannot be replaced. You can always make your money back, sort of. You can have a chance of making your money back, but the one thing you can never recoup is time. Now, of course, there are other reasons. There's other plausible theories as to why Hollywood is declining, and part of that is just the audience exhaustion from this barrage of mediocre films. Everything is either a derivative of something else, and people have become quite lazy in the production of movies. Large companies are merging and buying out smaller companies, and then they feel as though there's really no need for them to produce anything new. It's funny because they spend all of this money with their gargantuan budgets making films that they know have a track record of flopping when they keep on making those same films, but they do it anyway when they could use half of that budget to make new things and take a chance on those. No doubt the industry has become way too reliant on these formulaic plots and these recycled storylines and the excessive use of CGI. And it feels as though they are sacrificing the substance of the story in the material for the visual spectacle, thinking that if they just pull an Avatar, people won't concentrate on how bad the storyline is because they'll be thinking to themselves, look at how pretty this is, look at the CGI, everything's a tech demo. So of course, viewers and audiences are demanding more meaningful and innovative content, and the movies just keep failing to meet these expectations. And after a while, when the creators themselves are like, no, just shut up and open your mouth and take what we give you, the audience at some point is going to be like, all right, well, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to give you my money. Since you're not making the product that I'm actually saying I want, you can continue making it if you want, but I don't have to continue buying it. This is on the cusp of the other factor, which is the growing trend of creators alienating their fan bases. With the rise of social media, filmmakers and actors can now directly interact with their audience. People are watching their shows. And there were instances where creators or showrunners would just straight out dismiss or insult their fans' opinions. And this turned off a lot of people because of course it does. People are allowed to interpret your art the way they see fit. If they're not coming at you personally, they're just talking about the work or saying, I don't like the work because of this, or I think this is in poor taste, or I like the work. They would come after those people. And the thing is, they don't ever come after people who say they like something. It is only the opinion that they disagree with that they come after, that they vilify those people for. And they don't even try to debate in an intellectual way why they disagree. They just straight out insult their fan base. The people whose money you are taking, the people whose money you depend on for your success. I find that very rich. It's not like you're people out the road and you see some stranger and you both don't know each other from Adam and you start hurling insults at each other. These are your consumers. Imagine you calling people who have differing opinions, who don't like something or just happen to not like your work, that they're toxic. Everything is being labeled as toxic nowadays. And I've had this happen where I've left a review on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't use Rotten Tomatoes anymore because they're very biased and censory. So you leave an opinion and you have nothing but just constructive criticism saying, hey, the pacing was off with this, the acting was shallow, I didn't like the development of the character, these are my opinions, and your review is scrubbed and you were labeled as toxic. That is what is also sending away a lot of people. And it's so weird that the creators and showrunners and execs don't realize this until it is too late. Like, your consumer base is screaming out to you that what you're doing is going to make them try to find some other way of getting their entertainment if you don't stop. And you just, instead of saying, you know what, I'm sorry you didn't like it, hopefully the next production is more up your alley, we're going to keep creating this because this is what we're passionate about. Or, okay, you didn't like it, whatever, keep it moving. Nobody came after them and said that their mother looks like a whale. No one said that to them. They were just interpreting the work. And the thing is, they needlepoint these fans that are saying this and completely ignore everyone else that claims that they like it. But then the thing is, if it's 90% of the audience that don't like your work, imagine that it could be possible, just stay with me here, that your work is not likable. If there is a fringe amount of people that like it and 90% of your consumer base is like, nah, I don't dig this. 90% of your consumer base is toxic. There's no inventory being taken as to whether or not you're on the right page when it comes to catering to your audience. I just find that really interesting. So of course, insulting the fans, insulting your consumers, that breeds a loss of trust and support. And of course, as a result of this, the creator-fan relationship is ruined, and that results in audiences distancing themselves, and this is warranted, from Hollywood productions in general. That's why you find a lot of people moving to anime or to TV shows or indie movies. Then there is the other aspect that a lot of people have complained about, which is propaganda in movies. Now, I always think there is some level of propaganda in movies. A lot of movies have messages in them. I mean, movies and shows and comics and books are messages. Every story contains a message. So this is understandable. However, propaganda is known as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. This often comes in the form of vilifying a specific sect or demographic of people. And this is always the situation. When people see the same thing over and over and over again in a multitude of films, it becomes propaganda. If one film has it or contains this message, you can say, well, maybe that's just the story for this specific film. Like, for example, there are a lot of films out there, like the Avatar film, which I love, with a Na'vi that basically paints humans in a bad light. And you can understand it from the aliens' point of view. But if every or most of the productions there and after are aliens against humans, and humans always being the bad guys, and the majority of humans being the bad guys, or men being the bad guys, or certain people belonging to a certain ethnicity or coming from a certain country as being the bad guys, then you can say that is propaganda. Or if it's heavily biased in a movie. Now, one of the examples I'll give where they don't do this, where it doesn't feel like propaganda, is in a show that I recently started watching. And as of right now, I only have like 2 episodes left of season 1. The show is called Foundation, and it's based on a book series. And the thing I love about it, not having read the books, so things might be a little different in the books, but the thing I love about it is you have different characters, and you can't really tell which ones are the villains or which ones are the good guys, because they're all complicated. And while I expected it to fall into the same trapdoors that other films and TV shows have fallen in, sometimes I really can't tell. You'll have a main character, and the main character doubts themselves, and you think, okay, the main character is a good guy, but sometimes the main character will end up doing things that are bad. And then the person who you think is a villain may be a villain, but you could also understand their motivations for why they do what they do. Every single character has an individualistic motivation, and it's more realistic because they feel human. You can't ever say with 100% certainty, this person is 100% a villain. And I love that. There doesn't seem to be any bias. And if there is a bias or a certain message that's being subtly inserted here, it is so subtle. I cannot detect it. You can come away from watching Foundation and you can be on anyone's side. You can understand where people are coming from. It doesn't feel as though a certain person is being preached at, because from each person's point of view or each group of people, you could understand where they're coming from, their plight. And I just love the way that they portrayed that. Now, where you have movies like Harlequin or the TV show She-Hulk, it's obvious that men are the evil ones in this. Like, all the men are either very stupid or very evil, and you have that a lot in modern day movies. You can't have male characters anymore, and a lot of the ones that are known in franchises that people have followed, especially novels, they are changed from men if they're good heroes or interesting characters, and I just find that to be very annoying. That is a form of propaganda which will send away people. This unconsciously or consciously ends up turning audiences away. If I'm watching a movie, I'm from Taiwan, right? And in every single movie, Taiwanese people are stupid or evil or incompetent. At some point, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm done. Because every movie that comes out is the same thing. I can always guess that a Taiwanese person is going to be evil, stupid, or incompetent. So it's clear that there's some propaganda against Taiwanese people. Not only that, but it also becomes predictable and boring. And when it becomes more so or primarily about spreading that kind of message, the storytelling takes a back seat to the ideological messaging, and this causes viewers to feel disenchanted and they opt out for alternative entertainment sources, like I said, anime or Korean or Asian, African or Indian storytelling, because those people are just focusing on storytelling and escapism. And you see, this is one of the things I'm talking about. You think I'm joking. Whenever you have a specific demographic that is always shown in a certain light, they literally made a movie. I don't know if I can even say it. Negro, right? That's the Spanish word for it. The American Society of Magical Negros. Brother, what? I am so confused. And I bet you, without even having watched this movie, it's gonna be about Black people struggling, being oppressed, or the white people being evil and always showing the Black people they can't rise above them. And it's like, why does everything involving a Black character or somebody of African descent always have to equate to the struggle and how people hate them and this and this and that? If that is their truth and they're living that every day, why are you constantly putting that in entertainment that's supposed to function as a form of escapism or showing them in another light? So now when you constantly always shine Black people in this light, everybody else around the world is going to only see them as that. And they're only going to see themselves as that. How does that help? You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, it's also predictable, because you know in every show that you're gonna either have, it's gonna either be, oh, we're gonna hand it out so that you're special and nothing ever happens to you because you're Black and we want you to feel special and you just have these superpowers and can do everything better than the white people can do, or you're gonna have them being really, really tortured and oppressed. It's either one extreme or the other. They're never these complicated, relatable characters. And that's one of the things I like about Foundation, the series, at least right now. Yes, they did race swap and gender swap a lot of the characters, what I'm hearing from people who've read the books anyway. But the thing I like about it, even though the two main characters, I can find it a bit redundant that they put those two main characters in, I like the main characters because you know what? You see them having doubts. You see them feeling weak. You see them feeling fear. I mean, they feel human. Maybe they're given a bit more powers, but if their male counterpart in the book had those things, it doesn't make any sense to race swap and gender swap them and then make them just this impenetrable force. It's annoying when people do that. So I found it quite refreshing that Foundation at least did that. Made at least even one of the characters likable and complicated. I'm actually interested to see where her journey leads. But you can tell that there is this great disconnect between the creators and showrunners and execs of these movie industries and the audiences, and they keep doing it.
Society of Magical Negroes that is dropped today, and it's pretty much...
Bro, I'm like, can we please have escapism? All right, why can't we have just a regular story? All right, why? You know, so why is it whenever there's a black main character in the story, it's always gotta be about a stereotypically black story about his blackness and about white people? All right, I am tired of struggle movies. I'm tired of struggle movies. I'm tired of civil rights movies. I'm tired of daggone black exploitation, black revenge movies. You know, some 120-pound black chick transports through time to go and kill Confederate soldiers or slave holders or whatever. I'm tired of black trauma movies. I'm tired of these crap-tastical black movies.
You can check out Lootbox's Heroes video to hear his full thoughts on the matter. Yeah, but in the event anyone sees this, like in the wake of Hollywood's decline, that's why there's a lot of shift towards new types of movies and shows that draw inspiration from the success of foreign Korean movies and Japanese anime. And the reason why is because these types of shows or entertainment still focus on complex storytelling. And there's a lot of Japanese anime that still have diverse characters. And I don't mean just diverse in terms of ethnicity, I mean diverse people as well. Korean movies and Japanese anime excel in offering these diverse situations, complex storytelling, and the likes. And the reason why they're so well liked and why I personally enjoy them is because they explore themes that go well beyond the traditional Hollywood narrative. They delve into intricate character development. Boy, do they do character development like no other. There's moral ambiguity in their storytelling and unconventional plot structures, and Hollywood can actually benefit from embracing more nuanced storytelling that reflects the richness of human experiences. You know, like they used to. It's not like this is a foreign concept to them, ironically talking about foreign movies. This is something Hollywood used to do. Maybe another reason why these types of films excel as well is because foreign films, particularly Korean movies and Japanese anime, they're celebrated for their cultural authenticity. They provide the audiences with a window into unique perspectives and lifestyles. Hollywood can explore a more authentic representation of various cultures, you know, to ensure that stories are not only entertaining, but also respectful and accurate in their portrayal of different communities. Make it nuanced. Don't just have a story about Jewish people and all that's happening is they're suffering at the hands of German people. Like, there's more to it than that. Like, even with Curb Your Enthusiasm, we got a lot of the cultural aspect of that there, but it wasn't all about that. Just like anime does, they should learn to prioritize character-driven narratives and explore the relationships in depth if they're going to be doing this. Shift the focus from relying just on high-budget special effects and actually invest in the characters. I think it's kind of like the situation with video games too. The more CGI came into the mix and what they could do visually, they focused more on that, spent more money on that than actually writing the story. When people didn't have that to depend on, all they had was story. That's why I also like those text-driven games, because they don't have to focus on the visual aspect of it. So all they had was text. And I've tried a few of those on the mobile games, and the stories are actually quite interesting because that's literally all they have to focus on. And one of the most instrumental things that I think Hollywood has forgotten is engagement with their fans. Fostering a relationship with your audience. In anime culture, and a lot of these foreign movies, creators actively listen to their audience, adapting storylines based on their feedback. Not saying you have to change everything to the audience's whim, but don't treat them as though they're the demons in your story, because you need them to keep this going. Hollywood could benefit from that, from fostering a more interactive relationship with its audience, respecting their opinions and acknowledging the importance of their contribution to the industry. Since there no longer seems to be a relationship there between the creators and the fans, people have then walked away. It's what happens with any relationship. You beat and buffet around someone enough, they're going to leave. You keep telling them that they should leave. If they don't like you, they're going to make good on that promise. And if Hollywood doesn't get its act together, then yes, you are going to lose people forever. People are going to just stop buying your products. And unfortunately, the good movies or the smaller creators that enter Hollywood in the sphere get caught in the crossfire. These people forget that money talks. And you can only insult your consumer base so much until they decide to actually walk away, which is what you've told them to do. Not only in your verbiage, but also in your actions. Maybe this needs to happen though. Maybe it's not so bad. Because in the wake of this, maybe they'll wake up and better competition will happen. Maybe people will actually be challenged to make good stories again and to bring back the audience, woo the audience once more. It's a shame it had to get to this point for this to take place, but sometimes the world needs a reset, and the best teacher is experience. And I think Hollywood is experiencing that regret right now. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.